What's up, Arc Junkies? Welcome back to the show. That is, of course, if you've been here before. If you're new to the podcast, thanks for checking it out. I hope y'all enjoy it. Today's guest is Daniel Adams, also known as Fokker Fabs on Instagram. Daniel has one of the coolest jobs out there. He builds custom UTVs for professional racing. These things are crazy, and they get abused out there on the trail, and they're doing things they're not designed for at speeds I'd never imagined possible or necessary in an off-road setting. That's why Daniel's got to be good at what he does. These frames he customizes help keep the drivers and passengers safe when they're out there for recreational or racing. We get into how he started in the industry, some lessons learned coming up as a young welder to a lead fabricator, tips on bending and fabrication, and a little about life. We'll get right into the show after a quick word from our supporters. Today's episode of the Arc Junkies Podcast is brought to you by Rockmount Research and Alloys, the brand that believes in strength, reliability, and innovation. Introducing their Neptune aluminum MIG wire, with an impressive 40,000 pounds of tensile strength, taking your repairs to the next level. The Neptune MIG wire is specifically designed for welding aluminum sheets, extrusions, pipe, and castings. Perfect for both the amateur hobbyist and the professional maintenance welder. It's engineered to produce superior results with very minimal skill. That's right, minimal skill. It makes perfect welds accessible to everyone, revolutionizing the way we work with aluminum. For those of you that have been involved with the ship construction, truck bodies, or cargo tank creation, Neptune MIG should be your first choice. It brings durability and resilience to your work, ensuring that every project stands the test of time. But Rockmount's Neptune MIG isn't just for big industry. It's also perfect for adding a touch of aluminum magic to your home. Whether it's working on light fixtures, furniture, windows, or door frames, Neptune MIG empowers you to create, repair, and innovate, delivering professional results every time. And here's the kicker. It's particularly recommended in all types of structural aluminum fabrication, where post-weld heat treatment isn't feasible. That's the beauty of Neptune MIG. It adapts to your needs, making every project a breeze. Check out Neptune MIG as well as all the other great products at rockmountwelding.com. And as an added bonus for listeners of the Arc Junkies podcast, you can get a free 1-pound tube of Tartan AAA when you spend $250 or more on Rockmount Products and use code word AJP at checkout. Get the job done right the first time, every time with Rockmount. We're also brought to you by Outlaw Leather, makers of the original custom pipeliner welding hoods. Outlaw makes the coolest custom hoods in the industry. If you can dream it up, Outlaw can put it on a hood for you. Whether it's a personal logo, favorite sports team, military branch of service, or your company's logo. I've been dealing with Outlaw for the past several years and personally own several hoods and other custom pieces from them. If you have a design you want to bring to life, reach out to info@outlawleatherllc.com and they'll make it happen. They even do custom rod pouches and arm pads as well. And if you're a welding school, you can reach out to them and get educational pricing and get your school's logo put on your students' hoods. And you can rest assured knowing that each custom hood is handmade right here in the USA in Pasadena, Texas. In addition to their custom leather work, Outlaw carries a full line of awesomely designed hoods and other leather work on their website, outlawleather.com. And as a thank you for being a listener to the Arc Junkies podcast, you can save 15% on all in-stock handmade leather goods when you use Arc Junkies in the discount box at checkout. Hit them up today and stand out on the job site or in your shop with Outlaw Leather. We're also brought to you by Fronius USA. Fronius is thrilled to announce 2 new welding products to unleash your welding potential. First up is the Fronius Dual Wire Feeder. The new WF25i gives welders the freedom to have 2 torches ready to go, each with different wire types or sizes, different welding parameters, and easily switchable at the touch of a button. No need to change your wire spools or consumables between applications. Get precision wire feeding and save time without adding complexity to your day. Next is the new mobile fume extraction system, Exento. The Exento comes in both high vac and low vac versions to fit your specific welding needs. The low vac system includes a flexible extraction arm with 360-degree rotation and a flow-optimized hood for exceptional fume capture rate. The high vac system combines perfectly with the Exento torch kits to remove more than 99.9% of captured fume particulates at the arc to provide excellent extraction in a compact unit. Come experience both product lines at FabTech this September in Chicago. While at the booth, be sure to stick around for daily machine giveaways, guest appearances, welding presentations, and of course the opportunity to weld on-site with a wide range of Fronius products. Alright, you know what time it is. Fire up your machine, drop your hood, and turn me up 5.
Thank you for downloading show number 285 of the Arc Junkies Podcast.
You're listening to the Arc Junkies Podcast, helping you make every weld better than your last with each episode. And now your host, Jason Becker.
What's up, Fokker?
What's up, buddy? How's it going?
Nah, doing pretty good, man. I'm fucking exhausted this week, but I still got a couple more days left.
We got what, 2.5 days left?
At least. Well, no, because I got my kid's birthday party Saturday, and I'm probably gonna be over at the school working all day Sunday. And the only reason I'm not working there Saturday is because it's my kid's birthday.
We have 2 days of the work week left, but the work never stops, man.
It never stops. But I kind of like it. You know, a lot of people get wrapped up and they're like, oh, yeah, you know, I remember my first part-time job when you tell somebody you're doing 60, 70 hours. And there's a sense of pride with it. But I like the physical work. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not wired right in the head, whatever. But I like putting my hands on stuff and get stuff done and putting checks in boxes and all that. I like the physical work. Don't get me wrong. I like to take a day off here and there, but I like to stay moving, you know?
I like to be busy, dude, because, like, when I sit still, my mind goes, and, like, I don't like those dark places my mind goes. So I'm always trying to, like, do something. Like, even on the weekends that I'm like, my boss is like telling me, hey, dude, you can't go to the shop. I'll still come down here, unlock the doors, and go weld something. You know, like, I'm building some plate carrier stuff for us because we do a lot of training. And I'm like, I'm tired of stuff sitting on the floor. So a couple weeks ago, I was like, hey, I have a day off. I'm going to go do this. He's like, all right, cool.
Like plate carriers for like ruck runs and all that?
Yeah.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, like level floor plate carriers, full kitted out, mags, IFACs.
Damn.
We do a lot of training out here.
I got a buddy that David Grenier, he runs, I think he's still on Instagram, RX Plates. So I got a plate carrier and a set of plates from him because I was training like during COVID and all that stuff. And he had just launched that business, and I was like, well, hell yeah, dude. I want to support a friend and everything, and I like what you're doing, and the gyms are all closed right now, so I might as well throw on a plate carrier and run around the neighborhood or, you know, do whatever, jump rope. And so, it's RX Plates, but he'll put like your logos in there, your names, but I think he used like a 3/4 inch plate or 1/2 inch plate rolled. So, I mean, it's not anything for like protection, but it's just the weight.
Oh, okay. So he's doing weighted plates for you to train.
But I mean, you put in a regular plate carrier and all that.
Right. So we have full ceramic plates.
Oh, okay.
30-06 AP capable plates. But I mean, during COVID, like, we didn't know which way things were going to go. So we were like, okay, cool. Like, being in this industry, we're all like-minded. So we all were like, okay, cool. We're going to build this rifle, this caliber. We're going to get this plate, this kit, this, that. And then, like, things have like really calmed down because, conspiracy theorist or not, we didn't know.
Yeah, nobody knew. It was weird times, man. Dark days.
Really weird times. And, being a civilian and, I never served in the military. So I reached out to a lot of like my EOD buddies and military buddies. And they were like, hey, dude, you got to get this, like this, like, hey, don't worry. Like, things not going to happen. Like, he's like, but, you always have to prepare.
Yeah. But if it does, I mean, you're up there, what, North Carolina?
Yes, sir.
So, I mean, you're not exempt from hurricanes or anything like that. So, I mean,
Nope.
I do the same shit down here. I mean, we've got an entire area that's full of, like, non-perishable foods, like first aid items, batteries, like all that stuff for hurricanes, natural disasters, nowadays, riots, pandemics, all that other shit. I mean, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Like, I think I have 100 days worth of food, 100 days worth of water, big, like freeze-dried food, like in the pouch, fuel to make the food, laid out, like we have this thing to where we're going to bug in before we bug out. And we have a path to the shop or to where everybody's meeting so we all can support each other. And like, because numbers are power. So the more of you that are like minded in the same group, the more you're more likely to survive.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you never know. It's always a good thing to be prepared.
Yeah. I mean, we do it at work.
Yeah.
So you get to prepare for a job coming up. Might as well prepare for life.
Oh yeah. I mean, think about a random job coming up. I mean, you're going to go out and you're going to buy all the material, all the consumables, make sure you got gas on hand. I mean, you're prepping for the work.
Oh yeah. Yep. And employees, time, money, all that stuff.
Yeah, all that stuff goes into it. It's all logistics. It's all logistics.
Yes, sir. So
now you build some pretty cool shit. I mean, you're like in the UTV world doing like all the frames and all the body work and all that. How the hell, how'd you get into that? I mean, did you do NASCAR before? Just because I know I'm asking a lot of questions. I got my ADD. See, I told you it's clicking in.
Good. So, we'll start, so I'm originally from Arizona. I had my own shop for a while, got burnt out, did something else, but I always went back to fabrication. Did a lot of trucks. I started out building drift cars back in the early 2000s, built some pre-runners, built some like rock crawlers, took a break. And then the UTV industry, dude, it was wild. Like we started out with like a Kawasaki Mule and the Yamaha Rhino. These racing organizations started allowing us to race these rhinos out in the desert. So we're like, okay, cool. This is, we can modify this. We can be competitive. And then boom, it just hit. The Rhino came out, and then the Polaris 800 came out, and the market blew up. It was like owning a boat. These people would just dump thousands of dollars into aftermarket parts and cages. The big thing is safety with these things. So I was building cages. At least I would get like 1 or 2 out a week, just squirt gunning cages together, just MIG welding cages. And it's such a lucrative industry that about 2007, 2008, it was like a massive flop. We had that little bit of economy crash, but when that happened, people wanted to spend money in their personal stuff and stuff they enjoyed. So they went out, go off road, they would break it. So they would bring it to the shop, I would fix it. And then once, it was just a repeat thing, just repeat. Started building some race cars and dude, it was the money, man. The money was just there. And went through kind of a bad breakup and moved out to San Diego and picked up a job with a Monster Energy Drink sponsored driver. I was his crew chief. And built some stuff for him, standardized TIG welding and everything I did. No more squirt guns. The older I got, the less I wanted to get burned, spattered on. And year and a half later, I moved out to North Carolina. From that was out of San Diego. And it's the best move of my life.
I was going to say, it's a bit of a culture shock going from San Diego to North Carolina, right?
It was the first week of my employment with the company I'm at now. We were leaving late at night because we were on a build, and he pulls me off to the side. He's like, "Hey, dude, like, you're from the West Coast. My boss, Alex, he's now like my best friend, which is great. Pulls me outside and he's like, you have to slow down and you have to get rid of that West Coast attitude. He's like, you will not make it on the East Coast if you come out saying, I'm Billy Badass, I can do this. Or he's like, quit saying because you don't. Mm-hmm. You don't know. And he's like, if you can't make that change, we don't have a place for you. And it hit. Like, it's like being smacked in the mouth and not physically being smacked in the mouth. And I made that change, and here I am almost 6 years later. Same company. So
that's pretty cool, man.
But so the cars that we build now are pretty much based off the Can-Am X3. The Polaris dominated for a long time, and Can-Am was like, hey, we're going to get into this. They came out with a car that was competitive. We buy chassis from Can-Am. We send them off for baking to get all the paint because I guess in Mexico, they're produced in Mexico, and Juarez, right. Mexico. So I guess they go through like a paint dipping process like the cars do, to where they're painted inside and outside of the tube.
Oh, okay.
So we send them off to have them baked and blasted, steel shot, because we want the texture back on the metal. And then we cut them apart, and it's all dull coal R8, I think, tubing, which is like really brittle. It's designed for the automotive industry. So we have to add 4130 and a lot of DOM to these cars to make them last in the desert. So we cut these things apart. We go through, add a bunch of tube, add a bunch of plates and gusseting, and everything we do is TIG welded. That's the biggest thing with this industry is like there's you have like not talking crap in any way about these guys that build like cars that are MIG'd because it works, but they're like 1-season cars. So a lot of our cars race 2-3 seasons, and I listened to the podcast you had with the space welder, and she builds NASCARs, and same thing you do. They're going 200 miles an hour around a track for 500 miles, but we're going 100 miles an hour through the desert for 1,000 miles.
Damn. I didn't realize them things get up that fast.
Dude, this new Polaris that they just released, I've seen speeds of 120.
Holy crap.
Yeah. A company out of Phoenix just set the speed record in a Can-Am at 157 miles an hour.
Holy shit.
In a glorified golf cart.
Yeah. I remember when the Razor S came out, man, I was like, dude, that thing's freaking badass. And yeah. I thought that was fast.
Yeah. And it's scary, dude. Like, it's like a powerboat, man, or somebody that owns a Ferrari. You see all these crashed Ferraris. These guys go out and buy it as a status, but they're never trained on it. So you get these cars that do 60, 70, 100 miles an hour through the desert, and somebody doesn't have the skill to do it. They get wadded up quick. So it's just, it's crazy what these things can withstand now.
I've seen them, like, I'll go down to the mud hole and, like, I mean, they've got them jacked up, ridiculous.
Yeah, the Downey guys.
Yeah, lift kits on them, and then, they got, like, tractor tires and shit on them, and it's like...
Yep, 8-inch, 12-inch portals.
Yeah, they're freaking nuts.
Right, and that's... So, like, I build off-road race cars for the desert, and, like, the mud stuff, because I'm from the West Coast, I don't understand it. I respect it, but I don't understand it. Like... 60-inch tractor tires with portals and big link bars, and I'm like, that's really cool, but bro, I hate the mud. I am not getting in that mud.
It's a lot of fun. But I mean, like it's like you said earlier, it's like buying a boat, because you take something out in the mud, it's not meant to be there, and if you got like too much torque, not enough give, things are going to break. And so know that that's job security right there. Especially being in that industry, like somebody's going to break it. They obviously had the money to buy it to begin with, to do all the mods, to put all the latest and greatest accessories on there. The last thing they want to do is have that thing sitting in the garage come next weekend.
And pissing off the wife,
Yeah, so then, we need to get this fixed. Got to get this fixed, So they're like all the time. It's like a constant state of repair, repairs and upgrades.
It's a revolving door. That's
money.
It's just like we've had customers come in. He'll bring his car, we'll put a bunch of stuff on it, suspension parts, big tunes, he's like, I want 350 horsepower. No problem. 2 weeks later, he brings the car back. I put it into a tree because it's too fast. Fix it. I want more power. Okay.
You want to go up the tree?
Yeah. He wants to put the tree on its side. So, but yeah, I think you touched based on it on the AWS Wednesday. What, a podcast where you said like the trades?
Mm-hmm.
I think it was the one you posted today.
Yeah, with Andrew Brown.
Yeah, about the trades, man. Like this trade, I love it. Because of what I'm able to do. The cars I build win. That's not a pat on the back. That's not me saying that I'm better than anybody. That's experience. There's some really great people behind this company. My fabricator Brad. Alex, the owner, we all sit around, we all powwow like, hey, what do we do? Like, because there's those companies out there that will like always watch what you're doing, and then they'll kind of like not follow, but they'll follow what you're doing, like production, like parts wise or like build wise. So we're always trying to change things up, so every year or so we'll change things up like 50 to 60%. I'm squirreling. But, so we're always making things better. We're always trying to innovate the industry to make them better and last. Because we're kind of like, so we've won, there's a race out in California called King of the Hammers. It's, in my eyes and a lot of other people, it's the nation's hardest off-road race. It's through the desert, through the rocks. And we've won the last 3 years. Our cars have, our sponsored drivers won it. And now that we we've accomplished those 3 years, we want to continue that accomplishment. And it's hard because we have a lot of talented other companies out there trying to do the same thing. So we're always trying to innovate. And it's a money game, it's a money thing too.
So what do you guys like focus on? Try to make the vehicle lighter, more durable, faster, better suspension? I mean, like, what are some of the key components that you guys look into to say, okay, we won, 3 races this year or however many races this year. What can we do better next year to stay on top? Because that's the biggest thing. Like, everybody gets out there and they start winning, and then they start resting on their laurels. And the next thing they just kind of slack off because they're like, oh, yeah, nobody can touch us. We did so great. And the next year, somebody that's got, more of a drive, more of a hunger, more of a passion, they just smoke them.
Right. So I chase weight. So I'm a big weight chaser. With these cars, if you make them too heavy, they don't last. Like 24 to 2,600 pounds in these UTVs is, kind of on the middle to heavier side. The heavier they are, the more susceptible they are to break. The factory chassis, due to the rule sets, can't handle the extra weight. So I'm always chasing weight. The lighter, the better for me, just because it helps the cars last.
So you do probably a lot of the 41 or 4130 chromoly and all that stuff on there because it's light, but you get like the durability of the steel. Yeah.
So we actually use 4130 DOM and this tube called Promoly, which is like a blend of 4130 and another metal. It's extremely expensive. Like a piece of 1.5 095, 1 foot of it is like $15.
Jeez.
So it's extremely expensive tube. So we do a lot of Promoly, just because it has the strength of 4130, but it flexes like DOM.
Okay. It's got a little bit more give, so
yeah,
you get a little bit more flex in it.
Yeah, because if you make things too rigid, they break.
Mm-hmm.
Like bridges, you come from a structural background, they have to have
They've got to flex, yeah. Same thing like moment connections and all that. I mean, there's got to be give and play, otherwise it'll just shear or snap.
Right. It snaps. And, we're welding 095 at 120 tube to factory tube that is like 063 or 057. So we're welding a thicker tube to a thinner tube. So if you add too much thick to the thin, dude, things just come apart. Like, I've seen some wild stuff, even on my cars, dude. I've had some stuff come apart and I'm like, okay, cool. We need to assess this and fix it. And we just recently changed our weld out process about a year ago. And when we did that, we noticed a massive change in our chassis. They last longer. They don't come apart. So.
And you're probably running what, ADS D2 for your filler metal?
So yeah, D2, B2. We don't use any ER70, and I get a lot of crap, especially from like Frank and stuff. The top 1% of the off-road fab guys, they're like, oh, ER80 is just too brittle. But we straight current route, and then we pulse cap with ER80 SD2.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of positives going to that filler metal.
Mm-hmm.
And we changed over. We changed over to the Blue Demon filler metal because we had an issue with another brand. And after that change, dude, it was night and day.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people run 70S2 or 70S6 on that. And I guess you can get away with it like on the thinner material. And the same thing with like 4130. You don't have to, anything 1/8 inch or less, you don't have to worry about preheat. So you can just go in there and you can TIG or MIG it. So I guess it's kind of preferential. But there's other people out there that do silicon bronze with that because they get even more ductility and stretch and flex out of it. Like there's a dude, I can't find him anywhere, but he does motorcycle frames like that, and he'll do silicon bronze.
Yes.
Just because he gets more flex in those bikes because there's so much torque.
Right. And I think I know the dude you're talking about. I think I stalk him on Instagram sometimes because he does.
You'll have to shoot me his Instagram. Like I seen it one time. I can't remember. It's been years. I think I was like just getting into Instagram and didn't know anything about following. But yeah, like I remember the work that he was doing.
Yeah. And I think he's out of Europe or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's the same dude. But dude, like he stacks silicone bronze like TIG, and I've never been able to replicate that. Like it's just perfect stacked dimes of bronze.
Get get a hold of the one Zim.
Yeah, well,
He does some crazy shit with that stuff. It's like, it's not supposed to look like that, but it does, and it looks damn good.
What's mind-boggling is he's doing brass and copper to steel. So two different metals, dissimilar metals. Like who thinks like I can weld brass or copper to steel? And then like he's like, oh yeah, it's easy, dude. I mean, it's brazing, it's bronzing, so he does silicone bronze. So people, it's like, people don't think it's welding, but in my eyes, it's still technically welding.
Well, yeah, I mean, like if you want to get down to like the minutia and everything and talk about like, okay, the brazings happen around this temperature and welding's occurring around like 5,000. I think soldering's around 500 and then brazing's around 7 or 5,000 or somewhere in there, and then welding's like 10,000 degrees.
Yeah,
something to that effect. But I mean, at the end of the day, if I just showed you a picture and be like, hey, check this out, and showed you his work, you'd be like, oh yeah, that's welding.
Yeah, it's welding. In my eyes, it's welding, and that dude just slays it. And it looks
ridiculous.
He just posted something in the day, and I'm like looking at like pinching the pictures, and I'm like, how?
Yeah.
And then it's it's just like this. Like I'm off road, like I look at the pipe guys or the art welding guys, and I'm like, it's just that mutual respect. Like, dude, like this industry is wild on what you can do in it.
Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of shit talkers out there too that, they want to throw shade at MIG welding or stick welding or TIG welding. And it's like, you can't really do that. Like, I get it. There's a sense of pride, with what you do, the type of work, and everybody's gonna be more proud of the work that they do than somebody else. But I've never been able to pay my mortgage on pride. I've never been able to, pay my truck note on pride. It's always been like, here's the money that I made from all this week. I was MIG welding. Last week I was TIG welding. So it's like a culmination of what your skills and talents are that allow you to, put food on the table, provide for your family, and buy nice shit, I respect all different facets of welding, because there's people out there that can do stuff with a squirt gun that I've never dreamed imaginable. And it's like, oh, damn, like I've stuck some metal together with a MIG gun, but you make it look like art.
Dude, the guys in the shop like impress me tenfold, because I'm not big on MIG. I've never really been big on MIG. Like I can stick. That's what I did in LA when I worked out there building buildings and stuff like that. Is I did a lot of stick welding, and then got into the whole MIG and then TIG. But dude, the guys, the beads they lay down, like they're always, when I go over and I'm looking at their stuff, they're like, why are you judging my stuff? I'm like, dude, like, yeah, I'm judging you, but dude, this is legit.
Yeah, I'm trying to learn.
Some of this, I'm trying to learn.
Trying to pick apart your technique and your ripples here.
Yeah, and it's funny, dude, because like I work for a company, like my boss will go into the office 6 months, 7 months, and he'll come out, sit at a bench, and I'll walk over, and I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like how? Like how can you go away for that long and then come back and just lay dimes? So, and it's an artwork. It's an art, and the stick guys have it. Zim has it. Like the TIG guys have it.
It's like it's kind of like riding a bike. I mean, like you get out there and you fire up an arc, whatever process you're working with. I mean, if you've done it at a proficient level anytime in your life, it's going to come back to you really quick. It's all muscle memory. Like you don't even know what you're doing. Like you strike an arc. The other day, my buddy and I haven't laid a freaking stick bead in well over a year, just because I got moved as a program manager and then I left and started the podcast. Like I haven't been doing a whole lot of stick welding, and I had to run some stick welds on this AC bracket that we installed at the school. And I was like, damn, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And like, sure as shit, man, as soon as I put the hood down and struck an arc, I was like, okay, yeah, here it is. Oh. It comes back to you.
And, the kids that, when I do the weekend workshops and stuff like that, and the people that I do private lessons with, I tell them like, hey, dude, like welding is 100% muscle memory. Like, it's like riding a bike. Like the more time you have behind that welding hood, the better you're going to get.
Yeah. It's all repetition.
So, right. It's all repetition. It's all being comfortable, like if, it's the more you do it, the better you get. Just like racing a car, like you hosting a podcast, the more you do it, the better you get.
Yeah. That's with anything in life. I haven't done it yet, but I kind of want to go back and listen to. Well, I actually did, because somebody commented on the sound on one of the episodes, and I was like, oh shit, are is the sound quality poor? Like, that was like my main goal. So I went back and listened to the episodes that he was talking about, and I was like, oh, okay. That was, I switched over to a different mic at that time. I've since upgrade, keep listening or whatever. Audio gets better, I promise. But I went back and listened to some of them. I was like, oh, damn, yeah, like audio was horrible. I was like fumbling around, didn't really know what I was doing. My editing skills sucked. Yeah. But it's like anything. You're going to get better the more you put in.
Absolutely. I went back and listened. So like I'm big with, like, I have a lot of respect for Nate Bowman. Mm-hmm. Okay. So the other day I listened to the episode you just did with him, and I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to go back and listen to some past episodes. So I think it was like episode like 184 or 185 or something like that. And I'm like, the sound from now to then is two totally different aspects. Like, now it's crystal clear, on point. You guys have this rhythm, and you can tell like the progression of everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it helps too, because he's got like inside of his house, he's got like a small little studio kind of setup. So he's got like sound panelings back in. He's running a Rode mic at his computer. He's got like professional grade headphone. Like, anytime Nate does something, like, you've seen all this stuff, it's like to the 10th degree. Yeah. It's like all in or nothing, top of the line, or it's not getting ordered.
Yeah, he's ADD with OCD.
Yeah, he's like, I got to do a Zoom meeting, so I'm going to need like a Rode SM7B, and I'm going to need a set of headphones, and like he geeks out on all that, especially electronics, man. The lighting, everything's perfect.
Yeah, a boom mic, lighting, everything. Like he's got these, like, probably people back there casting like the perfect light on him.
I wouldn't doubt it. Like, his camera guy Jesse's probably in there. He's got the lighting and everything set up. It's all pitch perfect and all.
He's got his little halo or his ring light up in the back.
Yeah. I like chatting with that dude. He's a smart man, dude. I love getting into like nerding out with him and talking settings and alloys and all that stuff.
Yeah, and he's like, I shot him some information one day. It was like I first met him at FabTech in 2018. And we probably jammed at the Fronius booth for 5-6 hours just talking. Mm-hmm. And like, I like to talk and he likes to talk. So, even people coming up and like saying hi to us and stuff like that, we would just go right back to conversation afterwards. But I shot him some settings for work. Like, hey, dude, this is what we're doing. Because we have all Millers in here. We all our MIG guys run 252s. And I was like, this is the thickness. This is the type of the material. This is the type of the filler. What's my IPM? What am I doing? What's my deposition rate? And I got a book. Like, he sent me this book back of just explaining everything. And then it went from book to video explanation. And I went over and ran some settings and stuff like that. I was like, dude, this really helps. Like, this is great.
Yeah, he's an awesome asset to have in your back pocket. Like, I mean, so before he and I ever met in person, we would just kind of like discuss weld nerd shit back and forth on Instagram. And then we finally got to meet up at FabTech and have a couple conversations. And I think that's when I was with weld.com. And then I started the podcast, had him on a couple times. He came down here, did weld labs and everything with Rush. And, we've done a couple podcasts since then. But yeah, I love chatting with that dude.
Yeah, he's brilliant. And that's the best thing about this industry, dude. Like, everybody gives Instagram and Facebook a lot of crap. But there's so much knowledge that we can all share with each other.
Yes.
It's like I could shoot you a question about something, you're going to answer it.
Yeah.
You could shoot me a question about, weld coping tube or welding tube to something, I'm going to answer it. And I do it, I do it a bunch during the week just because we all like to help.
Yeah. And I think it's different about our generation. Because, like the generation prior to us, the guys that are, the guys and gals that are getting ready to retire in the next 4 to 5 years, or maybe a couple years longer, they were real secretive with their, industry secrets, their trade secrets, the things that, they'd only let a select few people in on different tips and tricks that would help them through their day. And so you couldn't get that only through experience. You couldn't go to a school. It's not in a textbook. There wasn't YouTube around. But now, I mean, everybody's so freely sharing their information, and it's not just in welding. I only see it in welding because like that's the arena that I operate in. But I know other skilled trades are doing the same thing with one another. Is like they want to share that knowledge. I mean, that's a big reason why I decided to take over the podcast for Jimmy. I was like, I don't want that resource to go away. I want people to be like, oh shit, I'm stuck. There was a dude that reached out to me right before we did the podcast. He's like, hey man, I heard the episode with you and Nate where I'm running metalcore at work and I'm thinking about running Pulse. Do you have an episode to where you talk about some of this stuff? He's like, I tried to search it and I can't find it. So I was like, oh yeah, I think I did one just the Tip Tuesday. So I pulled it up on Spotify or whatever and shot him a link and everything. So, you know, that'll kind of get him going in the right direction. Now he's got an open line of communication when he comes back and he's like, hey, you know, what gas, what CFH should I be running? What wire, what, you know, settings, all this stuff. And so I love being able to, I like being a resource for other people because I didn't have that growing up. And I know that I've got an entire Rolodex on my phone of resources that I can call if I get stumped or if I run into something that I'm not familiar with.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pretty spot on. You know, I grew up in an age, you did too, to where you had that old timer that didn't want to open up. He didn't trust you because you were there to take his job. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of those old timers thought. Like when I had my first welding job, dude, it was like, get that bucket, get on that bench and just run stick. That's all you're doing is just run and stick. You got any questions? Don't bother.
Figure it
out. And they're like, we had to figure it out. I had to learn the hard way. Walk 7 miles barefoot through the snow. You need to do the same thing.
Uphill both ways.
Right. And, and now it's just, it's crazy because the whole industry is like 180 to where there's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of assistance, and it's just, it's cool because we're a dying breed, every blue collar job, dude, we're losing so many people every year. The only way in my eyes is to resolve this is to help. And that's all I want to do is I want to help people learn. Mm-hmm. And I've been burned. I've been burned so many times helping people in the chassis industry. Like I've helped somebody out a year through Instagram and through like Facebook message, FaceTime call, stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, like, dude, they're talking shit. And I'm like, bro, I just helped you.
Yeah.
Like I do. But it doesn't steer me away from helping others. I'm just like, okay, cool. I know that person now. Like, okay, this is it. And I have no problem calling people out. I have no problem doing it. But, helping people, especially learn this trade or any other trade. Like my brother's a plumber. And like my dad works with my brother now because my dad was like, I'm going to retire. I need something to do. So my dad's teaching, or my brother's teaching my dad how to be a plumber. Because he wants to help. Mm-hmm. So, but
yeah, I mean, it's great. We can all bounce different ideas or share this stuff. I mean, I know I could reach out to, like, if I had a question with anything, I could reach out to Dabs, Nate, Rush. I mean, there's a whole list of people you can reach out to on Instagram, and nobody's ever going to really leave you unread.
Right.
Like I'll put mine, I'll mark mine. Sometimes I'll read it and I'll be like, that's going to take a little bit more time than I have right at the moment. So I'll go ahead and mark it as unread. But like as soon as I get off work, get home, get cleaned up, get something to eat, say hi to the wife and kids and all. As soon as I'm in my downtime to relax, I'll go back through and be like, hey man, what can I help you out with? Do. And here's settings, or here's a book, or here's a website, or, here's a podcast to listen to. Here's an episode that, I did when I was doing YouTube videos and shit that'll help you out with, exactly what you're asking for. Because a lot of welders, they don't want to crack open a book. We're like magicians. I used to do magic work as a kid, and one of the old school magicians told me, he's like, the best way to keep a secret is to publish it. And I was like, really? He's like, yeah, all the secrets of magic, they're all written. They're in a book. Nobody wants to read it. So it's the same thing with welding. Nobody wants to read it. Like I got a hard time reading. It's amazing that I can get through a freaking code book, but I can sit down and watch a video. Yeah, I can look at pictures. I can listen to an audio book or a podcast, or I can watch a video, and it's like, boom, I got it. Or just see somebody do it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Like, I got to have pictures, man. Like, I am not book smart. I hate to read. Like, I've read one book in my life, but you put a picture or put a video in front of me, I'm there. Yeah. Like, YouTube, I'm there,
I read a couple books during 75 Hard because it was like one of the requirements. You got to read 10 pages a day. And I did find myself a couple times, like when I read David Goggins' book, I was like, well, shit, I'm only supposed to read 10 pages a day, but like, here I am 25 pages into it for the day. And I was like, okay, it's not that I'm bad at reading. It's just that I don't like it. Right. And it's like anything else. You put the time in, you're going to reap the rewards. I'm not great at reading because I don't read enough. I just don't have the time. I'm slow when it comes to reading, man. I'm like one of them SLD kids. I gotta put it on an audiobook, then I can get it. But I can sit down and read. It's just not my favorite thing to do.
Dude, I'll read and everything starts moving.
Yep.
And then and I'm like, I'm not doing this right now.
Yeah.
Book gets closed.
Like shit.
And away it goes. Yep.
Yeah, I'll start reading and get like 3-4 sentences in, and I'm like, my mind just, we were talking about it before the show, my mind just wanders somewhere else, and I'm reading, but I'm thinking about, oh shit, I got to do this at the shop tomorrow. I got to do this, I got this thing going on. And you're like, damn it. Oh, fucking start it back at the top of the page.
Where was I? Yeah, I'm just like, what am I doing tomorrow? How many axles do I have to build? Or what do I got to build this bumper? Or is my first pass done? Do I have to run my second pass? And it's like all that stuff, like when I'm reading, it just floods.
Mm-hmm.
Like people do it to relax, and I'm like, oof, I don't know if I can relax doing that.
Yeah, no, my wife, that's what she does in her free time. She's a book nerd or bookworm, both.
Bookworm.
Yeah, she'll read. She likes reading. She does it for fun. But yeah. So when you're building your chassis, like you were just talking about, like you got all that stuff going through your mind. How do you know from one day to the next where you left off? Because everything on that chassis has got to be 100% top notch before it rolls out the door. How do you know exactly? Oh shit! I did the root pass on that, but I didn't have enough time to run a fill or put a cap on it. So like, how do you get your brain back into gear the next morning and be like, okay, this is where I left off?
Repetition. A lot of it is, been doing it so long that like I can come in tomorrow and be like, okay, well, cool, I got to weld these gussets out that I just tacked into place. But I have my weld Bible, and I'll make a list like every build. And we've even like had our HR guy or our office manager, I've had him made like check sheets.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll fill out the check sheet per build. So like we have 2 like really major high end builds coming up that we're starting in a couple weeks. And we'll have the sales order, but we'll also have a check sheet. And, me and my fabricator, Brad, will sit down Monday morning and we'll fill these check sheets out for the day. Or if it's a long build, then we'll fill it out for the week. And then when we get something done, we'll go over, we'll check it out. And then it's done, or like I've had to like put in like a level system of like, hey, this is like a 1 and this is like a 5 of like skill and how hard it is. And a lot of the times, like now I don't even have to do that because it's just like, hey, this is all we have to do. Let's do it.
Okay.
But a lot of it's repetition, just
muscle memory again.
Muscle memory again. It's, or I'll, we have multiple like QC checks in our chassis. So I'll QC it, my fabricator QC it, and then I'll get one of the production guys and give him my flashlight and he'll QC it. And then if we've missed a weld or we've missed something, then, they'll say, hey, and our powder shop, after they blast a chassis, they'll QC it. And they, it's been kind of cool because they just picked that up about a year ago. And then they'll call me like, hey, dude, you missed a spot. Like, come get this thing and we'll bring it back. I'll weld it up and then we'll take it back down to powder.
Oh, dude, you got to get like a little Max Star or whatever. You can just run down to the powder coater, plug it into a 110 and knock it out right there.
Dude, so the battery power Fronius.
Yes.
Dude, the AccuPocket, man.
I need one of those for the hunting camp, man.
That, and I hear rumors that a blue brand is coming out with them too.
Oh, no shit.
A blue and another red brand is coming out with a battery powered welder, which is, everything's going that way.
Yeah.
So why not?
Fuck, Fronius has had it around for what, 2-3 years? Probably longer, but
longer.
I seen Dabs welding with one and everybody was like, oh no, that's bullshit. The cable's hidden on, somewhere else. And I was like, jackass, you can literally go on their website and type in that model number and see right there. You can run 20 with the Fronius one. I know at the time you could run 20 1/8 diameter 7018s on a single charge.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Dude, so I pit weld you at school out here that, I help. We were at the Charlotte Auto Fair and this guy comes in and he's like, oh, I broke something on my trailer. I can't tow home to Florida. And the Charlotte Auto Fair is huge. It's like the biggest swap meet of hot rod parts. People travel from all around the world to be at the Charlotte Auto Fair. And he's like, do you have anything to weld it? And Bill, it was actually Ricky Swing at the school. He was like, we have the AccuPocket. And it was like drizzling. And we went out there, we set up tarps. Ricky set up a windbreaker. Dude, and I literally TIG welded in the parking lot for over an hour on this dude's trailer, just putting everything back together. And I'm like,
Battery operated.
this is the best thing in the world. Why doesn't everybody have one?
I'll wait till the solar versions start coming out. That'll be the next big thing.
Oh, geez. Another thing we have to worry about.
Yeah.
So.
No, but I mean, that'd be kind of, like I said, like up at the hunting camp, man. It's like,
right.
Well, shit, I got to drag a generator around because, I'm nowhere near anywhere with 230, volt outlet or even a 110, so I got to drag a generator with me. I got to drag a small welding machine. Hell, dude, you can throw a freaking AccuPocket in the back of your Polaris or Can-Am and just tool on down the road and, like, get somebody out of a bind. Or hell,
we're building
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, well, so we're building a chase vehicle.
Yeah.
It's a Can-Am Defender. And I literally told the dude, I said, hey, like, I sent him the link to the AccuPocket. I said, there's this welder. It does stick and TIG. We can literally put this AccuPocket on your chase vehicle. It's a UTV. If there's something broken out, so when we race, there's pits, but we call them remote pits. They're, 200 miles out into the desert. And to get there, you have to take dirt roads or off road and stuff like that. And this, we're building this thing, and I'm like, hey, we need to put this welder on this unit just because this thing's legit.
Yeah.
Put a little argon bottle on it, or even, take some 7018 out there. A fix is a fix. If it finishes the races with 7018 on it, so be it.
Yeah. I mean, you can put one of them little 40 cubic foot pony bottles in the back, strap that thing down. I mean, it weighs nothing. I mean, it's like carrying around an extra fire extinguisher, throw an AccuPocket in the back, and then boom, you're off to the races. Literally. I mean, you're back in the game.
Yeah. And, so I ran, there's a race that starts in Ensenada and goes down to Cabo. It's called the Baja 1000. And, been in it, so I used to co-drive for some teams. So I was always the passenger doing navigation. And, we broke something and we pulled into this tiny little shop just down deep in Mexico. And we literally took an open end Craftsman wrench and welded that to the part to fix it to get to the next pit. So, and it's common in the off-road world. Like, somebody has a engine drive out at a remote pit, they just get a stick welder out and they just weld a piece of material to it just to get you to the next spot.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that 330 MPX that Lincoln has, that'd be a good one to throw in a chase vehicle.
I've never even seen it firsthand.
Oh, dude, those things are so freaking. So it's got freaking pulse aluminum MIG from the factory. Like, you just hook your spool gun in and do pulse aluminum MIG on an engine drive, and it runs freaking smooth. And I was like, you're full of shit. We had a kind of like an open house during our welding competition for people to come in and check out the weld shop while we were doing it. And Lincoln had just released the 330 MPX. I was out there doing weld demos that weekend at Sun and Fun for him. So I asked the rep, I was like, hey, dude, if you don't have any place for this machine to go, if you could drop it off at my school next Saturday for the welding competition, I'd love to mess around with this and demo it out. And we had one of the young ladies that works up front. She was like a intern or whatever. Like, she was taking classes at the college, but like making some extra money part-time working at the college. And she was kind of interested in the welding program. We're like, hey, come out here and try this. And we put her on the spool gun. She's never welded a day before in her life. And she was literally stacking dimes. My buddy Josh was like, dude, check this weld out. And I was like, dude, that's pretty freaking sweet. Who did that? And he's like, Emma. I was like, no, like, seriously, who did this? Emma doesn't weld. She works up front and plays on the computer and checks attendance and shit. And I mean, like, right out of the box, that thing is freaking mint.
Yeah. And that's the wild thing with all these lead brands, dude, like Lincoln, Miller, ESAB, Fronius. Dude, what they're doing with these machines, Everlast is coming, Everlast has it. Like, the machines are making us look good now.
Yeah. It's a computer that can weld.
Right.
It's no longer a welding machine. Now it's a computer, and you can program your own waveform in there. Like the 300C from Lincoln, Rush came in and like developed his own program right there on the machine with just the user interface, and then labeled it like RKAC TIG. Like, put his own custom freaking name on it and shit. I was like, damn. Yeah. Like, I had no idea you could actually do that just through the user interface.
Right. And it took a while, but like, so we just got that new Dynasty 300, and it's got that digital interface. And like, so my fabricator, Brad, uses it because I like mine. I like my 350 over that because it's got more ass behind it. But he's got his settings saved under his name, and I've got my settings saved under my name. So all I have to do is go to memory and click down, and then boom, it's how I like it.
Yeah.
And it's like teaching people like you and Nate keep touching back this, teaching people the dials and what
That's
these
the biggest
machines
thing,
do.
man.
Right.
I wish I knew half the shit that I know now about, like, because I'm more digital. So, like, I'll go to the background menus and, type in or figure out what, my balance is going to be, the offset, all that good stuff. I wish I would have known that when I was sitting in front of, like, the old school Synchrowave that kind of looked like the inside of a cockpit, and it's just knobs and dials and switches everywhere. Dude, like, how much of a rock star would you look like if you could walk up there and be like, oh, this is this, and just start moving the dials exactly where you need it. Oh, I need 30% on this one. I need 70% over here on my balance. I need this, just dial everything in and then just lay down like the perfect freaking weld.
Yeah. We have an old Synchrowave like that. And it's like, I look at it and it's like looking at rocket science. And I'm like, this thing has way too many dials.
Break it down. One, it's like eating an elephant, man. One bite at a time. You just got to do one dial.
Yep. One dial.
But it's got everything on it.
Yeah. Now so I used that machine when I started here for a little bit because it was what we had. And now I have my book. So I go back to my book. Okay, cool. Well, I'm welding this 4130. I need this, I need that, or, doing aluminum on it. It's a pain, but I have my settings. So I can just go to my book and writing everything down is important.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's especially, because I mean, like, you do a lot of tube fabrication.
A lot.
So that's when I started doing, that's when I really started taking notes when it came to welding. Like the welding part, like I could figure it out. I could go to the machine and get it dialed in, always practice on a piece of scrap before I laid down, the weld that needed to be on the part a lot of times. But when I got into tube bending and coping and notching and, figuring out the different radius and all that, that's when I was taking notes. Yeah. I had to do a lot of like funky handrail and stuff for Disney. And we had this machine called an Ercolina. It's like an Italian tube bending machine. And this thing was freaking awesome. But it took time to figure out, okay, what the radius needs to be. Where do I need to set this pipe inside the radius? Because I don't want to make a bunch of cuts and, weld everything back together. If I can put 3 or 4, offset bends in this, just using the machine instead of like cutting a bunch of 90s and 45s and all these other angles and welding them back together later, like why I should be able to do that. Yeah. So that's when I seriously started taking notes. I got one of those, the Green Lee, you've probably seen them, the Green Lee levels. It's probably about 6 or 8 inches. It's meant for like bending conduit. But it's freaking, oh, dude, it's freaking great because if it's a non-magnetic surface, it's got like a little clamp that you can clamp onto like top dead center of your pipe. And then you can, start making your bends. And I think it's got 45, 90, 22 and a half.
And like 35 or something.
Yeah, it's got a couple of them on there. And I'm sure they have, I bet Stabilo's probably got one right now with a dial on it. You can just roll it and say, I need 17 degrees. And, when that bubble's dead center, you're at 17 or, whatever the case may be. But that's when I really started taking notes is when I got into bending tube and all that.
Yeah. So like I have like the Green Leans, like, dude, I have probably 4 or 5 of them and I'll lay them out on my tube because they have a V block built into them that's magnetic and it centers itself on the tube. So I'll like lay it out, or if I have like a compound, so we do a lot of compound bends. So one bend will be like 42 degrees, but an 8-degree down rotation. But the next bend could be 25 degrees with a 40-degree up rotation. And you have to figure that out. Our bender does have an indexer, but sometimes the indexer is even, because there's some play in that indexer, even that thing's wrong. So like having my levels, is great. Those Greenleys, like that's like a cross trade because they're made for the electric industry, but
they're made for the conduit. Exactly.
Right.
And the damn levels, like I said, it's about 6 inches long, but they're probably $40-$45?
No, not even that, dude. I think I bought them on like Black Friday for like $19 a piece.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, if you're not running on specials, but I mean, it's fucking pricey for a 6-inch level.
Yeah, but it is. But dude, investing in yourself is important.
So much freaking money in the long run, just in time.
Dude, that level paid for itself the first job.
Yeah, I've got a Johnson digital protractor, and I freaking love that thing, dude. It's probably 18 inches long, but like you open it up, you set it to 0, or you set it to 0 while it's closed. You open it up, and I can get all the different miters and stuff that I need, and then I can actually open it up and say, okay, it's like 35 degrees. I can hit the miter button, and it'll automatically tell me exactly what the miter needs to be. And it's got a memory on it because like I'll forget 3 steps later. It's like you ever pull a measurement and then you take 3 steps away to go cut something. You're like, shit, what was that? And you go back over there and measure it again. And you're like, okay,
Okay.
Yeah, it actually, if you carry the tool with you,
3 times.
Yeah, if you carry the tool with you,
Yeah.
it saves it in there for you. And I think that it was like $20-$30.
Yeah.
It's freaking awesome, man. I love those like
Yeah.
high fancy, technology.
I'm gonna have to look into one because I have some digital protractors and like digital blocks and stuff,
Mhm.
but nothing saves. So like, I'll take my marker and I'll write the measurement down on the tube, or I'll mark like. So a big thing in my industry is like marking your start and your stops of your bends.
Yeah.
So and marking it all the way around the tube. Like people will just put a line, but I mark all the way around the tube. But on the left side is my degree and my right side is my length. And I've kind of like memorized that and set that into my head. Like, hey, like when I'm bending this tube, I can't mess up 120 inches at 4130 because it's expensive. So
it's
being
$15
on point,
a foot.
yeah, and it's like, yeah, it's not my money, but it is my money, because it's my employer. And like, if I'm wasting his money, then I'm, it's wasting my money because it takes away from company outings. It takes away from raises. It takes away from quality stuff that we need if I'm out there wasting stuff.
Yeah. That's how trickle down economics actually work.
Right. And it's, a lot, and we'll touch base on this, but like a lot of guys ask me like, hey dude, like, are we having a pizza party this week? I don't know, man. I don't think so because, we're at this point to where like we're spending more than we're making, and I'm like, maybe week 2, month, maybe, who knows? We try to do 3 a year for the company.
Mhm.
Everybody in the company loves sushi, so we'll do a sushi day.
Oh, there you go. That's way better than pizza.
Right. Well, yeah, and we'll do a pizza day, and then we'll do a barbecue day. And yes, it's company. We're a very family-based company. So we all, we spend more time with each other than we do with our families or at home. So we're a bunch of grown-ass men. We have attitudes, we have, periods. So we get, not periods, but like,
I got the drift. You guys need chocolate every once in a while.
Yeah, every once in a while. So we argue with each other, we bicker, we piss each other off, and it's just sometimes you just need that gathering to bring everybody back.
Yeah.
So, and we just squirreled off of a tube thing to something else.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break. This segment of the Arc Junkies podcast is brought to you by Everlast Welders, my personal choice for at-home and small business welding machines and plasma cutters. If you're just starting out on your journey, don't feel pressured to pay extra just for a paint job. You can get an Everlast machine for a fraction of the price of some of the other major manufacturers out there without sacrificing performance, features, or a warranty. That's right, all Everlast IGBT inverter machines come with a standard 5-year warranty right out of the box. And Everlast customer service is top-notch. And as an added bonus, you can get a free upgraded foot pedal and TIG torch when you buy any machine that comes with a stock foot pedal when you type in ARC Junkies in the comment section at checkout when you shop everlastwelders.com. Everlast Welders. Weld mean, weld green. We're also brought to you by Workbench Pros. We live in an age where precision and efficiency are expected in our industry, and accuracy is non-negotiable. That's why there's workbenchpros.com. Shop their site today and take your fabrication skills to the next level and decrease time on build and increase productivity and accuracy. Workbench Pros carries a full line of fabrication tables, tools, and accessories, and they provide fast, easy shipping right to your door. Workbench Pros carries all the brands you know and love, like Strong Hand Tools, Fireball, Good Hand, Norton, Stabila, and more. Check them out today and see what you've been missing out on at workbenchpros.com. Workbench Pros. It's where the pros go. Now let's get back to the show. Oh, it happens. We get right back into it. I went up when I went to pick up the all the equipment and stuff from Stephanie up in Jersey. Her buddy Zach from Exit 74 or Exit 47. I don't know. I'm dyslexic. I think it's Exit 74 Fab. Dude, he does some cool shit. Like he's won like several builds over at SEMA. Like I had no idea the stuff that he did. Stephanie's like, oh, let's go over there and like we'll borrow his forklift to pick up some of the heavy stuff, put it in the container. So I went into a shop. He's got like this big ass tuna tower that's sitting in there. He's also doing like custom work on a car, and then he's got like railings and stuff over here. But he took me on a tour of his shop, and he's like, "Well, check this thing out. It's the new toy in the shop, and it's called a dragon, and I think it's like
Tube Dragon.
Oh, dude, it's like 30 feet long. But he can put this he can draw this, in the program, the drawing software, figure out all the offsets, but it'll go through and it'll cut, cope, and notch And then so if you're doing handrail and everything, it puts like little male tits for lack of a better word. Yeah,
we call them keyway.
Okay,
keys,
so like a keyway on the female side, and then it's got like a protruded one on the male side, so they interlock, together. So all you have to do is just clean up the ends, meet them up, and then weld them out. But the cool thing is, it'll switch from a plasma cutting head to a Sharpie head.
Yeah, dude.
And it'll say, okay, here's dead center of your bend, and this is going to be a 53.9 degree, bend this way. But it'll draw like the prints on the fucking tube. So then, I guess you program what type of bender that you have, or what company and all that, what model. And it's like, okay, it already has like a general idea of like the amount of spring back and everything you're going to get, the type of material. So it'll tell you exactly, here's where you bend it, here's where you're going to end up. But I mean, that thing is freaking sick.
Dude, and that's recently new. Like, that's like, I'd say less than 10 years to our industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's wild because it's got through coolant, so it keeps the tube cool, so you don't have any deformation of the tube.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't even know it had all that.
Right. But it, like you said, it copes, it notches, it puts the keys in, and then it marks out location, so it makes it idiot proof. And it marks out bend location. So he's probably running a program called BendTech, which we use, which, dude, you can design full, like, handrails. You can design BendTech, take that program, put it into the Tube Dragon program, convert it, and it'll lay out everything for you.
That's cool.
So, and those things, there's a company out of Oregon that's making something similar. It's still in the production. They're supposed to have it at PRI this year. And it not only does it cut it, but it bends it for you.
I've seen those. It like pushes through, like it'll push a certain amount of tube through, and then it'll kind of like roll it, and then it can twist it to do like offsets and all kinds of crazy stuff.
But it plasma cuts it as well. So let's say if you have like, you have a tube that's 20 inches long, but 8 inches in, it has a 20-degree bend. So it'll bend it, spit the tube out the remaining distance, and then cut it off.
It's like a vending machine for pipe and tube.
Right. And it's like, set it and forget it. Like, okay,
That's
cool. This is
sick.
what I'm doing now. So, and it's, the advancement is crazy. It's just insane.
Yeah.
So
now, do you find, like, speaking of tube bending and all that stuff, do you find that even running the same type of material over and over and over, like the spring back is typically a little bit different? Or like you find hard spots in the material or something that bends a little bit too easy?
Yeah. So, we have like a calculation, like a mindset of like, okay, cool, 1 3/4, 095, 4130 has 8 inches of spring back. So you have to add 8 inches to your overall bend. But if I go to run, 1 3/4, 095 DOM, it's got 6 degrees of spring back. But then I'll run like a piece of, 4130 of the same size and wall thickness, same bend, and I'll go hold it up. And I have to reload it back in the bender and add more bend because nothing's perfect, especially metal. Metal is not perfect. But yeah, sometimes it'll be thinner or thicker in that one spot, and I'll have to adjust my spring back on the bender.
Okay. Yeah, I was having a problem. We were doing a bunch of handrail, or it wasn't handrails. It was handrails because we had a bunch of complex bends in it. And I'd get, the second or third bend in it, and all of a sudden it would kink the pipe. And so I was like, damn it. So I was like, okay, it's got to be the seam, because we weren't doing DOM pipe. It's just regular 1.5 sketch 40, just regular steel pipe and our steel tube. And we'd go through and bend it, get 2 or 3 bends in it. And then like the next one we tried to do, it'd crush the pipe. So I'm like, what the hell? So I was like, okay, it's got to be the seam of the pipe. So I was like, okay, let me do a bunch of test bends. So I put the seam like, here's it dead center towards the machine. Okay, that's not working. Okay, 12 o'clock position, 9 o'clock. And it seemed to always be a different spot. So we actually brought the guy in from Ercolina. And like these dudes, customer service is top notch with this company. And nice. I think they flew him in from God knows where. It's an Italian-based company. But he's like, okay, here's your problem. And I was like, what? And he's like, it's not your material. He said, we were using a white lithium grease as like the spray. And he's like, as salesy as this is going to sound, if you switch over to this Ercolina brand, pipe lube, he says, your problem's going to go away. And I'm like, no freaking way. You're trying to, because it's $15 a can. And I was like, it's not my money, but I was like, you're trying to like, sell. So like we used it. He's like, here's a free can. If it works, buy more. If not, switch back to your white lithium grease. But I guarantee you that's the problem. And it was the lubricant they use, it's got an animal fat. I think they use pig fat. It's like rendered pig fat inside the lubricant. And it's like never had any issues after that. It's like, holy shit, man. I thought it was a material. I'm like, this is cheap, foreign freaking pipe we're buying from overseas. And no, it was a freaking cheap lube. It was, $4 worth of white lithium grease.
I mean, when we bend a lot of thick stuff, our bender doesn't have the power to like do it in one shot. So we'll use PAM, like common PAM cooking spray, and if that doesn't work, I got it from a NASCAR store here locally. It's a ceramic style grease. I guess it's got like really tiny, like minuscule ceramic beads in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll load it, we'll get kinks. So like I can bend down to like 0.63, but if I don't put the lube on it, dude, it snaps the tube and it kinks it. So yeah.
There's this, my dad actually brought it over. So I was doing some work at the school today, and like I was trying to clean up some of the rust on some of the tables. And I told him, I was like, hey, pick me up, like a gallon of WD-40 on your way in. He's like, no, I got something better. And he brought this stuff. I can't remember what it's called. I'll have to shoot you a picture of it. This stuff's nuts. But he's like it's way better than WD-40. Like my dad's hated he's a mechanic. He freaking hates WD-40. It doesn't work. He calls it mechanic's cologne. He's like a big fan of PB Blaster, but apparently this stuff's better than Canacroil, PB Blaster, like all that stuff.
Really?
So I sprayed it on there, let it sit for a minute. And this is like a pretty oxidized spot on the table. And let it sit for a minute, and then just waited. And then I was like, you can actually see it kind of reacting with the rust, kind of bubbling up. And then I took a piece of steel wool and just kind of, go back and forth to clean it. As I was going, it literally felt like it was putting a protective coating on it. Like it became like almost new again. Like, how, like when you get something new, it's got like that Cosmoline on it. Like when you get a fab table, something similar to that, but like slick. So I don't know if it's got ceramic in there or if it's got like a Teflon coating or something, but this shit's off the wall, dude. I'll send you a picture of it.
Teflon coating. Yeah, send me a picture, because I coat like all my bare metal. I coat in Mop and Glow, like the floor cleaner.
Yeah.
So like all my workbenches.
I haven't used that since boot camp.
To clean the floors, right? Yeah. So like all our chassis tables are all coated in Mop and Glow. Or like if I know a chassis is going to sit around a little bit before it goes to powder, if we bounce around like working, I Mop and Glow, because it adds that protective film, and I can weld through it. So that's like it's like a tried and true, like that's like an OG old school fab trick. Like on the West Coast, the guys that build the trophy trucks would never. They hate powder coat, because if you paint or powder something, you have to get that paint or powder off to weld. So if you have a crack, you have to clean it. So they would just coat everything in Mop and Glow.
Damn, that's freaking brilliant.
So,
because I've got all the tables at the school now. I'm going to try that.
Dude, and it's like I told Phil, House of Chop, about it, because he built a bench and it was rusting. I said, hey, dude, just get yourself some Mop and Glow, coat it, and then must have been 3, 4, 5 months later, he sends me a message. He's like, man, that stuff really works. And I said, it's just what I was taught as, when I was young and in the fab industry. I walked over and I said, why are you coating that with floor cleaner? Like, that's for the floor. And he's like, it stops the rust. No, it is not skin safe. So you have to wear gloves if you use it.
Okay.
So
good point. It's chemical. It's for cleaning the floor. Chemical. Makes sense.
Yeah.
The math checks out.
Yeah. It's like OSHA does not like that contact skin. Like, I mean, it'll peel your skin away.
Oh, dude, there's freaking like on that, just because like a lot of people are like, oh yeah, I don't need safety. Like I'm kind of anal when it comes to safety, just because I've been around. I've seen some stuff. Like, so I wear safety glass. Like I work just as safe at home as I do in the shop, or as if like a supervisor was watching me, just because I know that this equipment is there to protect me. I want to come home with all my 10 fingers and 10 toes and like everything. And I was working, I'm not going to say exactly where I was, but we had like this polished stainless that we were doing. And once it got all polished, once it got on the job site and, everything was, we were cleaning everything up for the final inspection. They were using denatured alcohol. So they'd fill up these like little paint buckets, these little paper paint buckets, fill it up with denatured alcohol. And they were taking rags, and they just throw the rag in there and grab it, wring it out, and then wipe down this polished stainless steel handrail just to take off fingerprints and Sharpie marks or anything that was on there. And my foreman was like, hey, man, go over there and help them clean the rail. This is all we got going on today. So I was like, okay, where's the I'm a freaking nerd. I'm taking OSHA 10 at the hall. I was like, where's the MSDS on this? And he's like, well, are you serious? I was like, yeah. He's like, well, it's over there. We have to keep it in the gang box. So I went over there and I read it, and I'm looking at it, and it's like, do not get in close contact with your skin, this, that, and the other thing. This leads to brain disorders, neurological conditions, this, that, and the other thing. And I'm like, hey guys, you might want to put some gloves on. There's some pretty nasty shit you're just rubbing all over your hands and dunking your hands into and twisting a rag and wiping. I was like, yeah, I need some gloves, boss.
Yeah, it doesn't. If you leave denatured alcohol, is it denatured alcohol, or is that what one spontaneously combusts?
Oh, I don't know.
Because when I used to do construction, they're like, oh, you can't leave that balled up; it'll catch fire.
Maybe MEK.
Like it gets hot. Probably MEK.
Methylethyl ketone.
Right. Yeah.
That's some nasty shit.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, so like acetone, like I'm firm on acetone. So like I clean all my metal with acetone.
Mm-hmm.
Even though like some people do brake parts cleaner, non-chlorinated brake parts cleaner, I still refuse to do it because I know in my mind, like, hey, it's got chlorine in it. And when you weld through that, it off gases and it can make you sick.
Mm-hmm.
So I acetone everything. And I'm the opposite. Like, this is like the first year that I actually really invested in a really good set of safety glasses and a really good set of, earplugs and headphones. Cause, I'm almost 40 and I'm like, shit, like what happens? Like, get something in my eye, lose my ear, or lose my hearing, stuff like that. But until about a year ago, I wasn't the safety guy. Like I would go up acetone. And then somebody's like, hey, dude, do you know within 0.5 seconds that acetone is in your bloodstream?
Yeah.
And I'm like, how? He's like, because it's thinner than your pores on your skin. So it's just your skin's instantly absorbing it. He's like, that feeling that your hands get cold after using acetone? He's like, that's the action of the acetone evaporating and getting in your skin and into your bloodstream. And I'm like, ain't no way.
Yeah.
Off to Google. Yep. He was right. Now, whenever I use acetone or brake cleaner, dude, I got rubber gloves on. So,
yep.
But you never think about that.
Yeah, it's the biggest organ that you have on your body is your skin.
Yeah.
And it'll absorb shit. I mean, think about it when you jump into a pool, or sitting in the bathtub for too long. What happens to your skin? It gets all wrinkled because it's absorbed enough water and stuff like that. So you think about, like you said, playing with acetone, MEK. I mean, there's just certain shit that we deal with on a daily basis. Protect yourself from. I've done the same thing, man. Like, I don't buy the cheap ass safety glasses anymore. I bought the ones from Rush Cane.
Okay.
They provide a lot more protection. I like them, and they kind of make you look like a 1970s shop teacher. So I think that's kind of cool.
Like heat waves.
Yeah, so I could throw those on and run them. But they're pretty dope. But same thing. Like my headphones and earplugs and everything. Like I run ISOTUNES a lot, just because I'm in an environment where I can listen to music as well as protect my hearing. If I was out at a job site, no, I just use standard hearing protection. You need to, there's people around you. But if I'm in the shop working by myself or out blacksmithing or mowing the yard, I'll throw my ISOTUNES in. Any other time, it's like the little foamies or the little plug inserts. Same thing at the gun range. Like, I started taking my safety a lot more serious. There's Optrol just came out with, I think it's called Swiss Gear, and it's like a small, very lightweight backpack you throw on, and it's a respirator for guys with like facial hair. Or, I mean, it's like a low-profile PAPR system, but it'll work with people that have facial hair. So I'm actually considering getting one of those just for the simple fact that, when I do all these weld tests and procedures and stuff like that, I'm doing a lot of grinding, taking off, the cap or, radius and the edges and all that stuff, because I'm doing 40, 50 plates at a time. So it's not like I'm just processing one set. So I use O2 Armor quite a bit. But I think, that whole Swiss Gear, because it's got like a PAPR system, it's pulling in clean air, it's going through a filtration system, plus it's, kind of keeping my face cool and keeping the dirt off my face and shit. And I'm going to look into one of those.
I just saw the post the other day about the whole beard thing. Like, I'm not a big facial hair guy because it comes in like patches, so I always run scruff. But I was actually like, really like, dude, that thing's for a beard. Like, because a lot of guys in the industry, we're all, burly men, and we all have, a lot of guys have beards, and they're forgotten about. Like nobody's gonna shave their beard. Sorry, like yours is probably what, 13. You're living proof.
Down there. I don't know. I got a tape measure around here somewhere.
So, but I used to, when I bought my fab guy over from production, I used to give him crap about what is that? How long is it?
11.
11? Oof. Almost there.
Well,
Hopefully.
but I'm going at the bottom of the chin. If I start at the bottom of the lip, depends. Where
That's
do you
it
measure your
starts, right
beard
at the
from?
lip.
You measure
Yeah.
like from between your forehead, right? Because that's where the unibrow starts.
Do you wear? I'm not going there. I'm not doing that. So, but I used to give my fabricator a bunch of crap about safety glasses, respirator, earplugs. He's 26 years old, and I'm like, dude, like I never thought about that. And he's like, oh yeah, dude. He's like, when I'm 40, dude, I want to have perfect hearing. I want to have eyesight. I want to be able to breathe. So like, he'll get out like the little grinder, and his respirator's on, his safety glasses are on, his earplugs are in, like, and a little while ago, I gifted him some. It was probably about 8-9 months ago. I gifted him some ISOTUNES, and dude, he's got those in 24/7 when he's at work. I have my Beats because I'm a real big music buff, and I like my music loud, so I have to have like loud headphones in. But dude, he runs those ISOTUNES and he loves them. But now, like, seeing how he acts and seeing how protective he is, it's like maybe it's time to rotate over and start like. And it's weird because he does, like, I teach him, but he's teaching me, like,
right,
like, hey, like, you need safety glasses. Like,
have
I got a piece of metal.
Have you tried the ISOTUNES?
Yeah, I love them.
Okay, yeah, because I was gonna say you don't have to. Because I'm a same thing, man. I like loud music right there,
right?
But because I can't hear anything else, and it's like directly in my ear, it's it's loud enough with the max volume. I think it's like 28 decibels or something like that. So it's actually really low, but I mean, you can hear it really well.
Right. I think they max out at like 8. I think that rating from is like 83 decibels or whatever. But my iPhone will tell me I'm like 99 to 100 decibels.
Yep.
Because I'm just always, but in my headphones, through the app on my iPhone, I've put trigger words in, like, so like when my boss comes out, he'll see my name and my headphones will shut off.
Oh, no shit.
So
you gotta show me how to do that.
Right. I've done that so I can be more responsive, because I used to get him, dude, he would yell at me all the time. He's like, hey man, I've yelled your name, like, dude, yeah, we throw bouncy balls, or we have tape balls or footballs, and I'll be working and I'll get hit with something. He's like, dude, I've been calling your name 8 times. Like, you need to listen. If you're going to have your headphones all the way up, it's going to be a problem. So I went through the app, and I guess this recent update, you can put trigger words in to where, or trigger noises too. Like, if you hear, like you can walk over to your doorbell and hit your doorbell and do a trigger noise. And if it hears that sound, it freaking shuts the music down.
Now I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I had no idea it would do that.
Yeah, but it's like, I think it's only available on like I don't know what kind of headphones you run, but I think it's the AirPods and the Power Beats Pros or anything.
Okay, yeah, I get the AirPod Pro 2s that if I'm not working, because I won't take those in the shop with me because they get the little magnets in them, and then they turn into like little, porcupines at the end of the day. So I was like, yeah, no, I'm not spending that much money on those to get them wrecked while I'm grinding.
Right. I go through a set of headphones every year. I just know it's just going to be
That's not bad though. I mean, like what's it like, $350 for a set of those for a year?
These ones are like $150 now.
Oh shit! Yeah, that's not bad at all for a year.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
No, and I like music, and it's better than listening to grinders and air compressors and stuff like that all day long. And so everybody in the shop wears headphones. We allow it just because we all have different tastes in music. Like, I'm a big, like, heavy metal deathcore person, but dude, like, the guy next to me is a big country person. He doesn't want to listen to my stuff all day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to listen to his stuff all day. So like, we'll have like days where, people will get on my radio and they'll play whatever they want. But like deep down, I'm like stabbing my ears out with pixie sticks because I don't like it, but I'm being respectful. So now everybody just really loves headphones.
I can do pretty much anything other than like mumble rap. I can't get into
mumble rap.
Yeah,
and
but
jazz.
Like I'm not big on jazz. The dude that came in, the graffiti artist that did all Stephanie's logos and stuff like that. Well, we hired him to come down here in Florida and do the same thing. So he's been in there all week, and he's got like his style of music, which is like, it sounds like he's just running my Spotify. So I was like, oh, this is freaking perfect, man. He's going from like Cody Jinks to Metallica to freaking, Rancid to, Megadeth, like all over the place.
Yeah.
Kenny Chesney. I was like, okay, yeah, I can get down with this. So he's going kind of like around the running the whole gamut of different music and all that stuff.
Yeah, that's how my fab guy is. He's just a wide spectrum of music.
Very
and I'm
eclectic.
Like very eclectic. And he's like in that age to where, you know, he grew up to where his dad listened to a lot of old school stuff, old school rock. So he does that. But me, like I like metal. I like rock.
Mhm.
I like, you know, stuff that just screams, but he doesn't. So
Yeah, I get a
it's
mix
just-
I got a very odd taste in music growing up. Like I'm going to see what is it? Mudvayne, Guar, and Coal Chamber next Friday. So that'll be a pretty
they're
cool
coming to
concert. And then I'm going to go see Cody Jinks in August.
Nice.
So-
Yeah, so I'm going to see Mudvayne, Guar, and Coal Chamber here in Charlotte.
Oh,
when
hell
they come
yeah.
up here. But then like Post Malone's coming. And I'm
I
like,
got tickets to
gotta-
Post Malone out in Tampa too. I was talking
Yeah, I gotta go
to
see.
Dusty with Pacific Arc TIG Welding.
Yeah.
He's like a freaking big Post Malone geek, and he loves. So like I started listening to more and more of it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I can get in. I don't like a lot of the stuff that he's like featured on, or he's got other people featured it.
Yeah.
But like the stuff he puts out, I really like that. So I'm going to go see him out in Tampa.
Right. And
He said it's an awesome show.
Yeah. You know, I listen to some of his music. You know, when I get tired of metal, I'll back off and I'll go to like my other playlist that has a lot of like hip hop. Like before I got big into metal, I was big into hip hop, like
Mhm.
Atmosphere and like Wu-Tang Clan, stuff like that. So, you know, he's a happy medium between that. So I'll go listen to him or something. But I'm big on supporting people that are like-minded, you know, and he's like-minded. He does training. He owns a big ranch in Utah. So like, I'm like, okay, cool. Like this helps him out. You know, I am just one person out of probably 50, 60,000 that are going to his concert, but you know, I'm going for support.
Yeah, everybody's
So-
probably very similar boat.
Yeah.
Have you listened to Jelly Roll yet?
Oh, dude, I'm
Damn.
OG Jelly Roll fan, man.
Damn.
Like,
That dude. So I was listening
like-
to him. He did a song with Lil White back in the day.
yeah,
I can't remember what the hell it was, but like yeah, I can get with that stuff.
yeah. Like, I think it's like, there's a song where it's like railroad tracks and,
Oh yeah, the train
Dude.
tracks.
train tracks.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so back when I was doing home audio video and I took a break from, you know, from welding and stuff because I was burnt out. And so one of the songs I tuned a lot of my stereos to in the houses was that because we would do in-wall subs and stuff. And I shared it on Instagram and he liked it. Dude, it was like a schoolgirl losing her virginity on prom night. I was like, oh my God, like, oh shit. Like, look at this. And then, dude, it's like, it's cool to see the progression of him.
Yeah.
And any art in like Post Malone, like he started out on like SoundCloud and look at it now.
Yep.
Like,
It's funny because you can listen to like down here, you can listen to a country station or you can listen to a
Yeah.
rock station, and you can hear the same song from Jelly Roll.
yeah,
I was like,
that's how it is.
I was
here.
like, am I on the right state? I thought I was listening to the rock station, and I was like, they're like, yeah, up next, Jelly Roll with I only need a favor, or yeah, I only talk to God when I need a favor, and I was like, what?
yeah,
Okay, cool, yeah, like I'm waiting for it.
yeah, because it's you know, cross genre.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's good. So it's relaxing.
Oh yeah,
Biggest part.
yeah. So what do you do in your free time?
So I just recently got into like building like these mini rock crawler RC cars. So doing that and then do a lot of shooting. You know, there's a range out here. We can shoot out to a mile.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, it's 8 ranges. So we go out there, you know, one day I'll practice, you know, my rifle, pistol draws on steel, you know, and so like next time, like I've heard like you come up to Charlotte sometimes. So next time you're up in Charlotte, you know, we have to stop. You know, hit me up and we'll have to go.
Yeah, I might
But,
have to drive this time.
Well, I mean, drive, that's fine. Bring some ammo and some guns and we'll have some fun.
Yeah.
So, but really it's like, you know, I do just whatever. A lot of times my spare time I'm either thinking about work or working. Got into the RC stuff, do a lot of shooting stuff. Do a lot of private TIG lessons is big thing I've been doing lately. And then I kind of like took a break from pit weld because of some stuff that we've talked about in the past. You know, we touched base on it through Messenger. But dude, like teaching welding is something I enjoy to do on my spare time because it grows the industry.
Yeah.
So
That's,
you know,
that's exactly why we decided to open up, our school. And then it just conveniently happened. Stephanie was selling hers at the same time. So I was like, well, shit,
yeah,
it's a sign. Like, it was meant to be, because I was kind of dragging my feet and I was like, yeah, I don't know. And then like she called me up and I was like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. Let me do it. Cause like I miss teaching, sharing my passion of, the craft that's done so much for me. So I was like, hell yeah, let's freaking do it. And we open up on Monday. So I'm
dude, that's
fucking stoked. The day this episode comes out will be my first day.
Oh, hell
First day of class.
It's massive. And congratulations on that, because that's massive. And Stephanie is a great person. Like, I've had the opportunity to have some conversation on like FabTech. Brian from Blue Demon, like, kind of like took me in as like wouldn't say a son, but like somebody that like he wanted to like
mentor,
introduce and mentor
Yeah.
is bingo. Sorry, lots of words. But if it wasn't for him, dude, I wouldn't know you. I wouldn't know. Like, I wouldn't have been able to walk up to Stephanie. I would have been like, "Oh my God, you're Stephanie Hoffman! Like, shake my hand here." And like Ray and all those people. Like, it's cool.
It's a good community.
So,
you going up to FabTech?
Yeah,
Again?
I'll be there. Yeah, I'll be there 2 days before and 2 days after as well.
Oh, sweet. And now you're gonna start doing the Weld Porn podcast now, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is that going to be the title of it?
Yeah, it'll be the Weld Porn podcast.
Okay.
So it'll be backed by Weld Porn. It's literally, it was brought to me because I was originally going to start my own podcast.
I seen that.
About like the Real Welder podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Because a welder with an E is the machine and an O is the person. But it was kind of controversial, and I got a lot of kickback from it. Like, people are like, "Oh, you can't name it this." I'm like, well, I'm sorry, logo is paid for. That's what it is. And then I had said some stuff about it to some people, and all of a sudden it was like people were starting to like take in what I was saying and use it as ideas for their podcasts. So I just was like, I'm not doing it because you guys are taking my ideas.
Oh, that's some bullshit.
And then Garrett and Brian presented this to me about doing the Weld Porn podcast. And dude, I was like, sign me up. I'm done. Sign me up. Let's go. So
yeah, I think the one you were going to run, I think that would have caught on, because like I went back and forth with Austin, Dr. Welds.
Yeah.
And I was, because I think he was the first one to put it out that it's Weldor, Weldor. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, dude, it's in like, page 2 of Metals and How to Weld Them. Yeah. It's right in that book. So I was snapping pictures and shooting it over to him because somebody was giving him shit for saying it was Weldor.
Yeah, and that night, so that I announced it, I sent you a message like, "Hey, dude, I don't want to step on your toes," like, and dude, you were like 100% receptive of it, and like, dude, I can't appreciate that. I don't think I can put it into words on how thankful I am for the conversation me and you had that day. Like, you sent me pictures, like, "Hey, it is Weldor," like it is.
Yeah, and
then you sent me links of audio equipment. You sent me links of hosting sites. You sent me so much information, dude. Like, I'm like, dude, this is, because I thought like I was gonna get flashback because, hey, it's another welder podcast or welding podcast.
Yeah.
But dude, you were on point.
Dude, the more the merrier. I seen the same shit like with in the maker community and the YouTube community, and it's like, okay, cool. You're opening up, you're starting up a podcast. Cool. Maybe some of my listeners are going to listen to your show. Maybe some of your listeners will listen to my show, because guess what? It's not the only game in town. There's 7 days in a week. There's 30 days in a month. There's 365 days in a year. As a consumer of YouTube and podcasts, I subscribe to multiple podcasts and multiple YouTube channels, not just one woodworking channel or one welding channel. I subscribe to them all. Because, like one episode, maybe, that one hits me. The next one, maybe not so much. So I mean, like, on top of that, the more resources that the people that you and I are trying to recruit to get into welding and train them up the correct way and give them the resources, the more resources they have to make their careers better and faster, the better off they're going to be in the long run. Because, I mean, we've got this massive skills gap right now, skills gap, wage gap. I mean, it's a marriage of both of them. But the more people we can help out, the more people we can recruit into the industry, cool. You know what? Our voice is just going to be even bigger now. So why not help somebody else along?
Right. And I appreciate that tenfold. Like, having this opportunity to do it, and I love to talk, I could talk to anybody for hours on end. So it's like, Brian's like, hey dude, you're perfect for this. Like, this is great, but the more, because of the wage gap and the skills gap, like the more knowledge, knowledge is power. And the more we get out there, the more power we have to save what we're doing.
Yeah. And I think the young up and comers, we got to get them on the fast track. Because, right. I mean, the people that are leaving the industry that have had, 40 years, 50 years of welding that are retiring, they're taking all that knowledge with them. Yeah. And nobody's there to really fill that gap, fill that void. So you got to reach the kids while they're in school, or if they're on the job site and they're going to fake it till they make it, you got to give them resources so they can do in 10 years what it's taken you and I 20 years to do.
Right.
We got to put them on the fast track.
Right. And I've, my fab guy, like I've got 20 years. I've been doing this since 99. My welding teacher told me I would never be a welder. Like he told me straight to my face, you suck. You suck. You will never do this. And here I am passing my knowledge onto this kid. He's been with me for 2.5 years, and he's blowing me out of the water on some things.
Yeah.
And I'm like if this would happen to me back then by an old timer, that's happening to him, dude, could you imagine? I could be Elon Musk right now.
Oh yeah.
Like
now,
it's just,
now you got to wonder, was he just being a dick, or was it maybe him telling you couldn't do it made you push yourself even harder so that you could prove him wrong?
So recently, about a year ago, dude, I reached out to him. I found him on Instagram or on Facebook, and I sent him a message. Hey, Mr. Schilling, do you remember me? And he's like, yeah, I remember you. I was like, do you remember what you told me? And he's like, yeah, I do. And he's like, do you remember? I said, yeah, you told me. Dude, I was a big pile in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was the punk kid that just go into the shop, and if it was metal, it got welded to the bench. Like he took a week off. Every tool in the shop was welded to the bench.
Oh, you were a dick.
I was a dick. I was a dick. So, and I still am. So don't get me wrong. I still am. But, one day in the booth, I'm just pad and plate, and he came up and he took the stinger out of my hand. And he said, you were never going to be a welder. And, dude, it drove me so hard. I had a full ride scholarship to the CIA, the Culinary Art Institute of America, to become a chef, because my mom's a chef. And I was like, I love cooking. But once he did that, I said, nope, metal it is. And when I reached out to him, he's like, I'm proud of you. And I'm like, bro, like, it took you 20 years to say that.
You don't get to do that.
I was like, dude, I'm like, I really appreciate what you did. I said, and nowadays people, kids are safe behind their keyboards. They're not used to getting slapped around like we did.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, that moment, like you smacked the taste out of my mouth without even doing it. And like, now here I am teaching it and doing it for years. So,
yeah,
but
I had a group of students the second year that I taught at the first school that I taught at. It was like 3 of them. They'd always chum around and screw off together and this, that, and everything. And dude, like I rode them like a freaking a Walmart pony, and I had a pocket full of quarters, and I did it intentionally. And finally, like I pulled them aside one day. I said, "Do you guys realize why I ride you the way that I do? Why you can't do anything right? Why I'm always on top of you? You can't get away with nothing?" And they're like, "Because you're a dick." And I was like, "No, that's not it. It means like we're speaking like adult to adult because they're adult students." And I was like, "No, it's because I see myself in you. I was in the same spot you are. The only difference is I was like 15. You're in your 20s. Okay, you don't realize the opportunity that you have in front of you. So like, figure it out, man. Get rid of your bullshit and like focus on this." All 3 of them now run their own welding companies successfully. Yeah,
you safely smacked them in the mouth.
Yeah,
and now they're successful. It's like I had a student up at Pitt. Yeah, dude, this kid's doing great. But, him and a buddy chummed up in his class, and I pulled him off to the side. I said, hey, dude, this is like me. You're 22, you drive a ZL1 Camaro, you're living this life. Here I am, 39. I'm having an adult conversation with you. You need to stop. You need to slow down because you have the most skill in this class. And if you don't, I'm going to have to bounce you out of this class and then you're jacked. And dude, now the kids, dude, he's dude, he's traveling all over. Like, he was just in the West Coast in Utah, in Colorado, and he sends me a message he's like, thank you. I'm like, for what? He's like, for telling me how things were. I said, dude, you just grew up.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to speak from experience and talk to them like adults. Kids don't need to be coddled. Like, I've got now I've got a 14-year-old and an 11-year-old. Well, my daughter will be 11 here shortly, but I've always talked to them since, the age of 3 up until their current ages, like an adult. I'm not going to talk to you like a little baby. We're not going to coddle you. We're not like, I'm going to have a conversation one-on-one. And that way, number one, I mean, they're always going to feel comfortable being able to come up and talk to me because I'm going to tell them exactly how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it and bullshit them. I'm going to tell them straight up. And I'm speaking from experience. And that's something that I think our generation does different than our parents did. Like, I was always like, why? Well, because I said so. It was the only answer I got. Not because when I was 15, I did this, that, and the other thing. And, like, I want to explain to them from experience and be like, hey, this is why, and here's why I know. I've experienced it myself. I've witnessed it firsthand. Like, here's the shit you need to stay away from. Or, you just got to guide them. And sometimes you got to let them fuck up.
Right. And that's the thing is, like, sometimes, and that's what I was taught is, like, failure causes you to learn.
Yep.
So if you're failing at something, you're going to learn not to fail. So, I failed, I had a business, I failed at it. And the next time I did it, I didn't fail.
Fail forward.
Fail forward. And the new generation is like, I want, coddle me, you can't talk to me like that. Like back then, dude, like we had that opportunity to where we could do that. Now it's like, you have to tippy toe around these kids that aren't your own kids, because dude, they could be like, okay, well, cool. Well, he said this. Now I'm going to try to cancel him.
Yeah.
But sometimes you got to pull them away. And like, I've talked to people a couple times at the school and stuff, like pulled them away. Like, hey dude, like you called me the B word, like you're 21 years old. You're old enough. And I don't let this slide. This is your one warning. Don't do it again. I'm being an adult right now. Next time I'll take you outside and we'll handle this.
We'll have a different conversation.
Like, well, yeah. And I was like, and I was like, guarantee you're going to be talking through a straw. And he was like, oh, well, man, I'm sorry. He's like, I just did it out of reaction. And I'm like, I understand. I had the same thing happen to me. This is me just telling you, hey, calm down.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how more personable they are, because they'll talk one game in front of like all their friends and stuff. Right. But like, hey, you know what? Let's everybody else go to the lab. So-and-so, I need to talk to you in the office real quick. And just lay it out. And just 100. I always was 100% transparent and level with my students. Yeah. I'm not going to, I mean, like if you don't like it, you think I'm offensive or this, that, and the other thing, like you're free to leave. Make sure you file a complaint and everything before you get out of here. That way it's well documented. But here's why I'm treating you this way. Here's why I have a problem with you showing up late every day. Here's why I have a problem with your attendance issues. Here's why I have a problem with your grades. Because I know you're smarter. I know you're better. I know what you're doing at night, because when, you're 20, 30 minutes late, I'm like calling roll. And I'm like, where the hell is this kid? Oh yeah, I see, he was Snapchatting me at 3:00 this morning. He was up playing video games all night. It's like, I know your story, dude. Get your shit together. I want to help you.
And attendance is my biggest pet peeve.
Oh yeah.
Dude, like I was taught at a young age, if you're not early, you're late.
Yep.
So like, and I get it. Like, I don't start work until 7, but I'm here. I might be sitting in my car, like listening to music or watching TikToks or YouTube or Instagram, responding to people, but I'm here at 6:30 and I'm in the shop at like 6:45, 6:50, because I know at 7 I have to be at work.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these kids rolling at like 6:02, 6:03, 6:10, and like one year, I think it was last year, I calculated the time. I'm like, dude, you cost the company 109 hours a year. You're getting literally almost 2 weeks more vacation or 3 weeks more vacation or whatever it works out to, because of your attendance. And, and it's the same thing with the students. Like, there's one kid, he would always be late. I'm like, hey, dude, he would text me 30 minutes later, I'm on my way. Don't worry about it. Turn around, go home.
Yep.
Like, you're late. And then that happened a couple times. He stopped being late.
Yeah. I used to lock the door.
Yeah.
Class starts at 7:30. Like 7:35, they're out there like, try again tomorrow. What?
Later.
Try again tomorrow. Oh shit, he's serious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Try again tomorrow.
I'm paying to be here.
Yep.
I'm being paid to be here to teach you.
I'm being paid to teach you this lesson. Go home, try again tomorrow. My
Go
director came up, and like he was a former, I can't remember what rank he was. He was like high up in the U.S. Army. He was an officer, but we got along great. And he's like, "Do you send this student home because they were late?" And I was like, "Yep." Okay, just wanted to get your side of the story. Yeah, he's going to try again tomorrow. Guess what? The next day he was 15 minutes early. Didn't have any more problems.
Yeah, I worked for a military subcontract company, dude. If you were 2 minutes late, don't even bother.
Yeah, turn around, go home.
And that's what they told you. Turn around, go home. They're like, we have a strict government guideline to adhere by. We depend on you to run that machine or to do this or to figure this out. We depend on you. And if you can't be here, then don't bother.
Yeah, I'm big on principle.
Big on principle.
It's the principle of the matter.
Yeah.
That's the main driving force behind me starting to wear safety glasses.
Yeah.
I was working in the shop one day, and boss man walks in. He's a general foreman. He looks at me. He's like, you like working here? I was like, yeah, man, this place is great. And he's like, good. If you don't put your fucking safety glasses on, don't bother coming back.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit. Okay, yeah. Put my safety glasses on. Never had a problem after that. And I was like, okay, I realize how big of an issue this is. Didn't realize that before. Check.
It's that big of an issue, dude. I've had multiple eye surgeries because, I have in my right eye, I have a little like AZ spot because I got a piece of metal in my eye, and I never went and take it out. I was like, oh, I'm just going to power through this, whatever. Fuck it. Creates rust. So now I have a rust spot in my eye. So I go off to Chicago to the Blue Demon headquarters to do some filming with Bob Moffett for the Let's Weld Something channel.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, that guy rode me so hard about safety glasses.
Oh yeah.
Bob, dude, he's like, if you were my student, I would have kicked you out until you put those things on. And dude, all of a sudden, like we have a video out on YouTube together, and all of a sudden, like halfway through the video, there's safety glasses. And then the last half, I have safety glasses on. It's because we actually stopped filming for him to tell me, you need to put those on. We're not doing anything exciting. We're not welding. We're not grinding. We're not doing anything, but you need to wear those.
Yep.
So, and that's, it needs to happen. It needs to happen. So.
Yeah, it's lessons. And he's speaking from experience. I mean, you got to respect that.
Dude, I was unplugging a fan and I didn't walk up to the plug to pull it out of the wall. Yeah. I pulled on the cable a little bit. Dude, he came unglued. He's like, did I just see you do that? And I'm like, yeah, Bob. And he's like, if I ever see you do that again, he's like, I'm going to beat you with that cable.
Oh, there's certain pet peeves that you'll have as an instructor, like being a supervisor on a job or just being, in general. That just those things really piss you off. I actually did a video on with weld.com. I think it might have been the grinder safety video. And it was exactly that, yanking the cord out of the wall. I was like,
yanking the cord out of the wall.
Yeah, because I had a staff sergeant when I was in the Marines. He told me, he goes, unless you can take that extension cord and like whip it and plug it in, he says, don't yank on it coming back out.
Oh,
I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense. All right, no problem. Yeah. Message received. And I've never freaking yanked another one out since then. I always walk up, grab it right at the end and pop it out.
Yeah, and now I'm like that. Like here I am, 39 years old. That happened when I was 38, and like now I'll walk up and okay, cool. I got to unplug my fan. I'm not yanking on the cord or I got to unplug my grinder. Pull on the plug.
Now it's muscle memory because Uncle Bob got in that ass.
Yeah, he got in that ass. He did. Oh yeah, dude.
I need to call him, man. I ain't chatted with him in a while.
Yeah, same. I need to. He wrote, so I left my weld Bible because we were so busy on time, and he took my weld Bible and they actually had to ship it back, but he wrote me a love letter in it. Like how, like, he's like, you forgot this book. I never forget anything. That's why I have my backpack. You need to learn not to leave things behind, especially something important with your notes in it. And then it went in like, I respect you, like, blah, blah, we had fun, this and that. Let's do it again. So on and so on. But not only did he like say, hey, like you're cool, but he also freaking got on that ass.
Yeah.
Because I left my weld Bible behind.
I think he's still in instructor mode. He's retired for 2 years now. He's still in instructor mode. He'll be a teacher the rest of his life. Oh,
we all will.
Yeah.
So we all will. Like I'll be 90 years old sitting on the front porch. Remember when I ran that filler rod? like remember when I told you to practice while you're pooping with 1/8-inch filler rod because you didn't know how to feed it? Like
you tell that to your students too?
Yeah, dude. So first day in TIG class.
Yes.
I will go over and I will grab 1/8-inch filler rod and I will give them a 1/8 inch. I said, dude, if you're driving, you're feeding. If you're pooping, you're feeding. If you're watching TV, you're feeding. If you're scrolling, you're feeding.
Yep.
And I give them the heavy stuff. I'm like, what's going to happen is you're going to create that muscle memory of feeding filler. And then when your left hand is good, switch to your right.
That's exactly what I used to tell my students. I'd take 1/8 inch filler wire and bend a hook on each end. That way they can't stab themselves. So take it home and feed it forward, and then feed it backwards. And when you get good with one hand, do the other one. While you're same thing. While you're watching Netflix, while you're hanging out with your girl, while you're doing this, start feeding that, because next week we're going to start running filler metal, and I'll be able to tell exactly who practiced and who didn't.
Yeah, and like, so when I run those classes, like for a week, yes, it is boring, but dude, I make them. So arc length is like super important in TIG welding.
It's massive.
It's massive, and they don't understand it. So like, for those first couple days, they're just running arc length drills on plate and on tubes and stuff to get their arc length. And they're like, well, I want to feed filler. I said, hold on, we'll get to that
before you walk.
Right. And I'm like, this is, you haven't MIG'd, you haven't sticked, you're just going straight into TIG. So you're learning something that's a little more difficult first off than anything else, So we'll run arc length drills. But during that time, it's like, but I'm home practicing feeding. I said, because that practice next week when I start you on feeding filler, and I give you a piece of 045 or 16th filler that bends in your hand when you're feeding it, you're going to understand the concept.
Mm-hmm.
So, feeding fillers, if you can't feed the filler, like I've seen people like hold back on the filler, like almost to the back and try to feed it that way, but they don't. It's like a lever.
Yeah.
The further you're back on the lever point, the more slop you have on the end. So if you come in on the lever point, leave 4 or 5 inches out, you won't have that slop. Somebody comes by and bumps your filler, having so much out, it's going to whip around. You're going to dip your filler or stick it to your tungsten. So
yeah, I use the the metaphor. You ever been fishing?
Yes.
You ever used a cane pole?
No.
You've never used a cane pole?
No.
Okay, well, if you ever fish with a cane pole, if you hold the very bottom, like cane poles are long. I mean, they're like 11, 12, 13 feet long or bigger.
Yeah.
And that's because there's no reel, so you can't cast with it. But if you just hold the base of the cane pole, if you watch the tip, it's just up there shaking. And it's all the natural involuntary movement from your hands. Like the slightest movement at the base is a lot of movement at the tip. So if you're choked up on your filler metal, like you said, 4, 5, 6 inches away, that part is like nice and sturdy. Everything behind you is kind of like wiggling quite a bit. A lot of times I cut my filler metal, depending on, I don't do it with aluminum so much just because I'm constantly feeding, but with any of the steels or stainlesses or anything, I'll always cut my rods in half and just put like a hook on the end of it, just in case somebody walks by, it doesn't hook under their safety glasses. But at 18 inches, I've got a lot less mass to worry about wiggling the tip of my filler, even if I'm choked up on it nice and tight. Yeah. There's not as much wiggle room in there.
Yeah, and so I'll let students do that for probably the first month or so, but I'm big in so I teach a lot of chassis and a lot of tube TIG welding. So so I'm big on like teaching like preaching full length rod. So because there's some parts that I'll weld 2 or 3 pieces of filler rod together and have to run that length like on an A-arm or something. I'll weld 2 pieces of filler. I'll tack them, so you got 32 inches plus 32 inches. So I'm 64 inches of filler feeding on an A-arm.
Oh, okay.
But it's just, I'll walk by and I'll catch a student do that and I'll flick the end of the rod and it'll like that the cane stick thing, it the further it out, the more vibration you have.
Yeah. There's a lot of involuntary movement at the end. Same thing with like when I teach them stick welding. I'm like, especially the tall kids, I'm like, dude, you're like a freaking pine tree blowing in the wind. Like lean, 3 points of contact, put your feet on the ground, put your hip up against the table, prop your elbow, and then weld like that. Well, I want to weld with one hand. You'll get to that point, but you got to learn, always be comfortable. ABCs of welding. Get comfortable first, prop up, make sure you're steady. Cause if you're wobbling all over the place, you're not running a straight bead.
Right. And like I preach, like rule number 1 with me is PPE, safety glasses, pants, closed-toe shoes. I do let people wear, regular shoes to school, but they have to be leather. They can't be like cloth, because if you're stick welding a cloth shoe, it's going to catch fire. And rule number 2 is be comfortable. That's it. You got to be comfortable. And they're like, well, what's a hand prop? And I'll go in and I'll put like a C-clamp on, a piece of pipe when they're sticking overhead. I'm like, see, now you can put your arm there, hold your stinger and watch what you're doing. And even, here I am building chassis. I still have hand props. I still have things. I'll take a clamp and clamp it to a tube on a chassis, and I'll use that as a hand prop, right? Because I got to be comfortable. So, because the big tall dude that's a Christmas tree, if he's up there welding, overhead, and he doesn't have a hand prop, he's real shaky.
Yep,
you gotta stop it.
I'll tell him, like, put your back up against the wall, bring your elbows damn near to where they touch, rest them on your chest, and then weld from away from you back towards you.
Yeah,
you weld that way. And everything's like nice and tight. You control all the movement 100% of the time. You got a slight steady drag angle. Everything's good. You can see the puddle. You can see the edges of your bevel. Everything's going to flow and tie in perfect. But if you're not propped up and you're up in there, I mean, that's why you keep sticking. Yeah, you're swaying in the breeze. And next thing you know, you bump into that bevel side that's not preheated, and now you're stuck.
And now you're grinding.
Yep.
And getting it out. Same with dipping tungsten. Like I call it chicken wing. Like if you cook a chicken wing, it curls up.
Mm-hmm.
So when same thing you just said, chicken wing, get curl your feed rod up, curl your TIG rod up, or your TIG torch hand up, and get in there, because it's a fulcrum. It's the more support, the better the weld.
Keep it nice and tight.
Yep, nice and tight.
Yeah,
so
best way to do it.
Yeah.
Well, shit, man, it's been a blast chatting with you. We got to do this another time.
Yeah, I'm game. Just let me know.
Okay.
So there's a lot more, so got pretty, just how old are you?
40.
40? Yeah, we're both about the same age. Got a lot of stories to tell.
Quite a bit, man.
So
let me know when you get the Weld Porn podcast up and going.
Yeah, I will.
Honestly, dude, if you got any questions, just shoot me a message, man. I'll help out any way I can.
I appreciate that. So it's, we have a final meeting this Friday. Me and Oki are going to set up the guest list, and then we're going to figure out a schedule on days to record and days to drop. So you have Monday and Wednesday, so I'll probably drop Tuesday or Thursday to split the difference, so we're not flooding people or, stepping on toes. And I look forward to Monday and Wednesday, because you have Monday, and every episode just keeps getting better and better. So
cool, man. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, can I give a shout out? Like, I want to thank some people. Dude.
Shout
like,
out,
it's
man.
Pretty big. Like,
have at it.
Like you, of course, thank you for doing this podcast stuff and spreading the word. We're dying, like not physically, but we're a dying breed. People fall off all the time. People are retiring. We have, instructors leaving instructing to go back to the trades because lack of money, which, turns down to lack of funding. Big thing. Brian over at Blue Demon, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. The company I work for, it's definitely like the East Coast, West Coast thing. The East Coast is easy living. It's people out here are a lot different. So it's just, Dabs, Ray, everybody that has our backs, Nate, it's a great community.
Yeah, it is.
So yeah.
Well, cool. Where can people find you at?
Mainly Instagram under Fokker Fabs with a PH. My Facebook is my real name, Daniel Adams. I'm pretty well private on my Facebook because I like to keep things, a little more secure over there. Got a lot of trolls, got a lot of shit talkers that I just gotta kind of keep under wraps. So I don't really allow a lot of people over there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll vet people before I add them. But you can find me on Instagram under Fokker Fabs. I have a TikTok account, but I just use it for thumbing videos. So that's Fokker Fabs as well.
Okay.
So, but yeah.
Well, awesome, man. Again, it's been great chatting with you.
Yeah, man, I appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you.
So, yeah, dude.
All right, ladies and gents, thanks once again for tuning into the show. I hope you all enjoyed the conversation between Daniel and I. Be sure to check him out on Instagram and see these badass builds he's putting out. I hope you all have a great rest of your week. Stay safe out there, and until next time, make every weld better than your last.